Okay. All right. Here we are. Hello, dear sweet fam. I'm Charmaine, and this is my friend, fellow nurse, and licensed financial professional. She wears all the hats, and very well, I might add. Who's going to be with me on this trip down our financial freedom and more like knowing what to do with your money, because God talks about money a lot in the Bible, and He expects us to be good stewards with it and knowing what to do with it. He's put people in our path to help us with that. And my friend Sandy is also my licensed financial professional. It has been for quite some time. How many years?
4?
No, it's been more than 4.
Has it
longer, way longer than 4?
Time goes by so fast,
Yeah, time
Charmaine.
goes fast.
Wow.
So one thing we're going to talk about on this episode is retirement planning. Because sometimes we don't think about that when we're younger, and I'm talking 20s or even younger, but mainly 20s when we're just starting out our career. I know I didn't. And now it's kind of hitting me in the face. And there are a lot of things I wish I had done, but thanks to Sandy here, I've been able to play some catch up and try not to be too hard on myself, and nobody should be too hard on yourself, and just see it as a learning experience. But we want to talk to you if you're in your 20s, and if you're not in your 20s or 30s, but if you're just starting out, and even if you're not, you're going to find value in this, okay? So, Sandra, the first thing I'm going to ask is, say I am a 20 or 30-year-old getting my first job, and I'm in HR doing all the paperwork and everything.
Okay.
And this whole thing about retirement comes up, and I'm like, oh, whatever. I just click off whatever, because that's way down the line. What is your suggestion of how I should view that part of my HR onboarding coming to a new position?
That's a very good question, Charmaine. But before we start, let me introduce myself formally.
Yes, please.
So my name is Sandy Weidman. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for over 17 years. I'm thinking maybe it's over 20 now. But I started out in critical care. I've done travel nursing. Charmaine and I share a lot of the same background when it comes to nursing. We've explored a lot of the different features and choices with nursing. I've loved my journey in nursing. And yes, I am a licensed financial provider / planner / professional. How did I start that journey? I started that journey in nursing, tax season, talking to my CPA, and my CPA said to me, Sandy, you are making too much money. You've got to figure out how to start making your money work for you, because you're working too hard for your money, and you're not going to have a really good or a pretty retirement if you don't start thinking about it and taking it seriously. So I started asking questions, and I fell in love with just the business. And I joined a professional financial team, and we have been going strong for, because I think you were one of my first clients.
Yeah,
so
that's why I know it's more than 4 years.
7 years, maybe something like that,
maybe
but
even more.
long.
Yeah.
And I love it. And each year, we still have the same mission: no family left behind. We still have the same crusade, getting you or showing you how to get to that point where your money works for you, as opposed to you working for your money. So the same mission, same crusade, and we're vigilant about that. And I always like to tell my clients that, it's very Bible-based. The Bible is the source of our wisdom. So I draw on Matthew 25 and 1 Timothy 6 when they speak about being a good steward of your money. And people fear that if you aim to make money work for you, if you aim to make yourself rich or wealthy, that then you fall into that thing of love of money. But it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. It's not money, it's the love of money. So you just got to be a good steward. So now to your question.
Thank you.
Took
And
the
wait, and
circuitous route.
yeah, and you're still nursing too, right? You're
I'm
doing
still
wearing both
working.
hats.
Yes, I'm wearing both hats because I still love nursing. I do nursing now part time, and I do this business full time.
Okay. There
I
we go.
always will have two jobs. So, and your question again?
So, say I'm new, I'm starting out, whether I'm a nurse or anybody else, I know you help a lot of nurses, I being one of them. But if I'm just new in my job, period, and I'm in HR and they go over all the packages, how much attention should I be paying to the part about retirement? I'm
Very, very,
25, I'm
very,
30.
very good question.
Yeah.
So first, what I would say to you, and you know what, and I'm gonna give you some bullet points, so you can take this with you. So first of all, you have to be serious. You have to be serious.
Just helping her out here.
Like, so you have to take it seriously. You have to know what you're going into this job. So when you go into HR and you're sitting down in front of those papers, take it seriously. Orientation is your time to ask questions to human resources. They are available to you to discuss. This is the opportune time to sit and discuss with them all your 5 essentials. Okay, so when you're sitting in HR and you're starting to fill out your paperwork, you have to remember that you're unique. You're not going to be, your situation is going to be completely different from your BFF or the person sitting next to you. So you have to have your own unique questions. Do you have life insurance? Do you provide that family? Like, if you may come into this job married with children. Do you provide life insurance? And if you do, and I happen to leave this job, can I take this life insurance with me? Right? That's life insurance. What kind of health care can I expect from you and coverage, and how much do I pay towards that health care, and how much do you pay towards that health care? At what point am I vested? How many years do I have to work here to be vested? And
what is vested?
Vested means that when jobs will allow you to work to a certain point, and then you can, if you decide to leave, you can take your pension, or you can take your full 401, 403b, because you're vested with them at that point. If you come into the job and you've only been there 1 or 2 years, you may not be vested. So if they have a pension plan and you are not eligible for that pension, or if they have a certain type of 401k, 403b, and they have contributed toward it, then if you leave before you're vested, you may not be able to take all of that 401 or 403b balance minus the penalties and taxes.
So vested means each job has a certain amount of years that you have to be in there before you're considered vested. Okay, so yeah, so that's important to ask them. Like, how many years do I have to be here to be considered vested?
Yes. And then what does the company offer in the way of retirement funds? So the question is, how soon should I be taking retirement seriously when I start a job? The earlier you start taking it seriously, the better for you. So we always say, as soon as you start making a salary, you should start thinking about how you want your retirement to look. Envision it in your head. You go in there and you're thinking, okay, I'm 21, 22, 25, 26. I have maybe $100,000 worth of student loans. So I'm going to span it out over time. How many years am I going to give myself to pay that student loan off? And at what point in my life, 50, 55, 60, retirement age officially is now 67. By the time you guys get 10 years from now, it's going to be more like 70, 72. But at what point do you want to retire? There's a retirement age the government recommends that you retire at, and then you have to sit down and envision and dream about what your retirement is going to look like, and at what age you want to start considering retiring. And then when you get to that point, you say, okay, how much money do I want to have saved up to allow me to retire on passive income? That's the whole goal here, is how much money do I want to save up to have multiple sources or diversified sources of income, passive income coming in, so I can have a safe and secure retirement the way I've envisioned it or dreamed. So the earlier you start, the better. And then don't ever assume that you're going to be eligible for Social Security. Ask them, do you guys have a Social Security plan? And do I pay into it? And over how long? And now, there are some standards with the government, but not all hospitals or services or postal services or teachers or federal jobs pay into Social Security. So you have to know if they do deduct that from your paychecks and how much do they deduct. You
So
should
if they don't, I'm sorry. So if they don't, then that means you're not going to get Social Security?
that means that well, if you stay at that job for 30-35 years, then yes, it means that you are not eligible for Social Security because you haven't paid into Social Security, right? But they are allowing you now to set it up independent from your job.
Oh, okay.
So no, so some sources are there in place for you. Now, if it's a federal job, like if you're working at the Pentagon, then I'm not really sure about that, but I know with most federal jobs they do not pay into Social Security. Mm-hmm. Now that might have changed over the last 6 weeks from my last check, but always check to make sure that you have Social Security and that you're paying into it, because it may not seem like much now, but when that day comes, every little bit helps.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and then you want to ask about short-term disability and long-term disability. You're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're invincible. But listen, you break your leg, and or you're out jet skiing, or you're out parasailing, and you fall out of the sky and you break something, and you're out for 6 weeks to 2 months to 3 months. That short-term disability will pay your rent. It will pay your hospital bills above your health care, depending on how you have it set up. And then here's the golden egg. Do you have a pension? You ask your employer, do you have a pension? And if you have a pension, you opt into it. And then here's another golden egg. How much do you match my 401 or 403b?
Okay, so let me stop you there. So a pension is different from the 401, 403b.
Yes.
And some jobs have both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what if they say they don't have a pension? The job. You just they just don't. And
so a lot of jobs, a lot of businesses are phasing out the pension, and a lot of jobs are paying them now. As nurses, will last, to try to phase it out. But some hospitals are phasing out the pensions. Yeah, okay. But most hospitals are still hanging on to the pension. Praise God. But if they do not have a pension, then what they're trying to get you to do is to put more into your 401, your 403b. But I would say to you, and this here, this is a little off the cuff here. There's always the option of putting money into a Roth as well. If you don't have a pension, then you start adding up. You figure out how much you can put away every month and make it consistent. And you put money into a Roth and you put money into a 401k. And we can go into that in another discussion. But you always want to diversify. A Roth is going to give you tax-free income, and your 401k will be taxed when you get ready to draw on it. So you
401k, 403b.
Yes.
They're just the same thing, deferred, just called different.
Well, things. They're still IRAs, but they're under tax code. It's a 401 that's another discussion where we will break down what a 401k and a 403b is, and how and what does it mean by a match, and I'll go over the calculations with you and all that.
So the important question is, do you have a 401k or 403b?
They won't have both.
They won't have both.
They won't have both.
Do you have a 401k or 403b, and how
do you match? Yeah.
How do you match?
Yeah. Know the amounts or costs of these options that will be taken out of your paycheck every pay period. So do your due diligence. Be responsible. Now you're making a paycheck. You're getting a W-2. You look at that paycheck. You determine. Get an expense sheet. To start it out. I sit down with my clients and we do expense sheets. And you start now go over their paychecks with them so they can understand all the things that are coming out of their paychecks, and what is being contributed just from their employer and what they're contributing toward. I go over their health care with them, and let them know the dental. Know how much is coming out of your check pre-tax so that you know how much you're actually being taxed on, if that makes
So the
sense.
401k or 403b, the money that's
Pre-tax.
coming out is pre-tax.
Well, I'm sorry, this is before taxes.
Before taxes.
Yes.
Yes, they take that money out.
Before, yes.
And then what does matching mean? That they take it out of your check and then
so they have a formula.
We get to say how much money they take out?
Well, okay. So there is an amount that, okay, yes, you can. You can say to them, I want 2% of my salary, 3% of my salary. But the government tells you that there is a max you can contribute.
Okay.
In that year.
Okay.
And I think the max right now is about 22,000. I don't have it written down, but I think it's about 22,000 that you can contribute out of your paycheck, and then just divide it over the 12 months, or 24 paychecks if you're getting paid twice a month.
Yeah.
Some of us get paid once a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get to, so when you are walking into HR and you're sitting down with all your papers and everything, this is your time to ask those questions. But know when you're coming in there, what you're coming in there with, your visions and your dreams, and do I want to have max taken out of my paycheck towards my 401, or do I want this amount taken out of my paycheck towards my 401k, and then this portion taken out and put it into my Roth. And I recommend doing both if they don't have a pension.
So then when you say match, just getting back to that real quick. So if you decide, if they tell you how much do you want to take out and you say, let's say 3%, or should I just say, well, how much will you match? And I should take out up to the point that they're going to match, like, which means if I take out if they say we match up to 6%, should I say, okay, take out 6%?
Yeah. Okay. So there's more to that formula. It's not just 6%. But I would have to go over that.
Okay.
It's a calculation. Okay. But you do want to take out up to what they match.
Okay. Yes. So that's what
because that's free money. Because if you're putting in 200, then they're putting in another 200 to a certain point. And that's where you have to know the calculations and stuff. So maybe the next time you bring me back, we can go over that calculation.
But for now, the takeaway is at least take out up to, like, ask them how much do you match?
Up to the match.
They say 6%, then say, okay, take out 6% because you're going to match the 6% you're taking out from my check with your money. All right?
That's not quite how it works.
But
it's 6% of 3% of your salary.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have to know already what that amount is.
Okay.
You have to know what your salary is, and then you do the calculations. You say, okay, what is 6% of my salary? Okay, and that's like the month. I mean, that's the year.
Right.
So that's the whole year, right? Yeah. And then it's 3% of that.
I see.
So it's not very much.
Wow.
Because technically you're putting in a large chunk of change into your 401, 403b. They're just matching you up to a certain point.
I see.
And then you are gaining interest on it. And at the same time, you could also lose money on it because it is vulnerable
to the market.
In the market. Yeah. That's where they.
So you're gaining interest, but you can also lose.
You can also lose
money.
Yes, but you cannot lose it in the Roth. That's why I say put your money, put money towards your Roth as well. Diversify. Put money in up to that match, and they will go over with you their calculations, and then put a portion, whatever you have done your calculations, what money can you put aside out of each one of your paychecks to save towards your retirement, save towards your emergency fund, save towards your rainy day, in your essential bills. Anything above that, portion it out into your retirement funds.
Okay, so basically, as a new person coming in, you're saying, some of the main things is to ask questions. Ask them, what kind of life insurance? Do you have a life insurance? What does it look like? Healthcare, what does that look like? At what point am I vested? I like that question. That was a question I didn't know to ask when I was first starting out. Although they mentioned that to me, and I didn't know what that meant. So I was just like, oh, okay. And I didn't realize that that whole take out to the vested, get the free money, blah, blah, blah. So I learned that along the route.
Yeah, a lot of nurses have worked up to that. Hospitals standardly, most of the time have they have 5 years vested usually, and a lot of nurses who don't understand that term, they leave at year 4.
Oh,
And if they
you're
come
not
to
that scared.
me, I
Yeah.
tell them stick it out one more
One more
year,
year. So you can
because
bring that with you.
yes, so you can bring your pension, you can have some sort of pension or something,
Right.
however that pension has been accumulating in your 401k, 403b, whatever they have been matching it with, you can take all of that minus a penalty. And because if you take it out before 59 and a half, you're going to be penalized. Okay. And you're going to be taxed. So unless you roll it over. So.
I was just going to say that. So, but you can, so you can't roll it over if you leave at year 4, if you vest it at 5.
You can roll over whatever you placed in there, but you cannot roll over what
there.
Yes,
there's the free money part.
That's
You're
the free
leaving
money.
that money on the table.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that is the way they have their strategies set up, a lot of them are changing their strategies now because they're getting rid of their pensions. So a lot of them are becoming more lenient on how much you can put in and how much they're matching. So that's the question you ask HR. And then whatever you don't understand, you sit in front of your financial professional. You sit in front of your CPA, and you discuss it, because don't ever think you have to sign anything that the very day. You can always look at it, ask, what window do you have, because you want to go talk to your CPA, go talk to your financial planner, and then talk to them.
Yeah, that's what I started doing. So, all right, and then and the other thing you said is, what do I want my retirement to look like? I mean, retirement can look so different to so many people. Everybody's different. Like some people want to travel all over the world. Some people, I think, when we're younger, and when I say younger, I just mean just starting out. I think you're more retirement is just a vision of, oh, I'm going to be able to do this and that, but we don't realize that has a lot to do with how you live your life up until that time.
Yes.
When you start your job. Yes. So I wish I had known that. I mean, of course it makes sense, but you're not really thinking like that when you just figure you're going to have your social security, you're going to have your 403b, and that's going to be what you kind of live life on, and it's really not that simple.
No, it's interesting because up until my CPA sitting me down, I hadn't even thought about Social Security. I hadn't really even thought about retirement. I really was just living paycheck to paycheck and just having fun. Although I did have, I traveled a lot. I mean, I just front loaded, and I didn't really think about too much of investing or compounding interest or any of those things, those concepts, financial concepts. But when she sat me down and she made me realize time is essential. And if you have time in your hands, your money can grow and grow, compounding growth. And what I could put in at 20, I would have to put in 3 times that much to come out the same
at 40.
At 40,
yeah,
yes. So you start at 20 and you start at 30, yes. And you take it serious. You ask the right questions. And one of the things I always tell my 20 somethings and 30 somethings is, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail, and not take that seriously, because you have time in your hands. You have a golden egg in your hand. You can invest such a small amount, and over time it will grow, and it'll be waiting there for you. And you sit down with the financial planner and they plan it out for you, help you understand it.
Yeah. And then short-term disability, long-term, that's something I didn't think about till later in my career. And I mean, like you said, anything can happen. I had a friend whose friend's husband had a traumatic event, and we were in our 30s, and his income was gone. And so you just never know. And just like you said, anything, you could go skiing or something, and you just have no income.
You live long enough, something's going to happen.
Something, yeah.
You live long enough, something's going to happen, especially if you leave out your front door.
Yes, exactly.
But I wanted to kind of tie it in to your mission, your mental health journey. And I tell you, one of the biggest things that affect your mental health, your mental stability, is your finances. It's huge. Health is one, mental one, but your finances. You worked. One of the things that my older clients, they come to me and they're frustrated. They've worked 2 jobs. They worked, but they failed to plan, and they just did not know. And so they come and they say, "Do I have time now to catch up? I'm getting ready to retire, and our pensions have been frozen. So you
Frozen.
have to plan around a diverse source of
Portfolio.
passive, diverse portfolio, a diverse source of income coming in when you go into retirement, and know kind of what type of income you want. Is it 10,000 a month? Is it 5,000 a month? And what are you going to have to do, and how are you going to have to save to ensure that be there when you get there in retirement?
So you're saying don't just depend on the products at your institution of
diversify.
Employment. Yeah, diversify outside of that institution.
Yes, always diversify.
Use their stuff, but then also go outside, and you find that stuff through a person like you, a licensed professional,
exactly,
financial professional.
Yeah. Times have changed. It used to be, when we first got into nursing, we could count on our 403Bs and our 401Ks. We could count on it. We knew, of course, we were in a time when the market was doing fairly decent, fairly well. So we knew that what we put in, we might have taken a dip and might have lost. Yeah. But now we know that no, don't put into a 401k or a 403B, because the Roth is sitting right there. You can diversify, and so yes, it's a tool you can use, but don't just put your eggs in one basket. Diversify, and those are the questions you ask. Do what you know.
Okay. Well, I want to know what you guys think. If you have questions, please put them in the comments, and maybe one day we'll do a live and get live questions. But this was one of those conversations I wish I had when I was first starting as a nurse. I was in my 20s when I first started nursing. Mid-20s. I was 19. Yeah, and she was 19. Isn't that 19. Crazy?
My cousin started her nursing classes in high school. Oh. So when she came out of high school, she only had one more year to do. Wow. So I think she was 17 and a half or 18, something like that. So she had me about a year, but I was 19 years old when I started nursing. Yes.
I was in my 20s. So, yeah, and I didn't know. None of this was ever explained to me, or ever, nothing. So thank you, Sandra, for this and for all the years that you've been working with me to explain all of this. I'm in no means like an expert, but I know a whole lot more than I did before I met you. And the Lord started showing me things. Thankfully, He was putting people in my path to kind of gear my mind to this subject, because at first I just wasn't even thinking about it. I was just, to me, retirement was, okay, when I'm done, I'll have my 403B, and I don't even think I thought that far. I would just be like, oh, when I turn this age, I'm not going to have to work and I'll be able to live. Like, okay, well, how are you going to be able to live? So
I know. I just remember all those flights. I just would get off work, head to the airport, head to Paris. Weekend in Paris, weekend in London, Africa.
She's a world traveler.
But all that, I wasn't even thinking about my future. I just, until my CPA, I really appreciate her sitting me down and saying, you need to start paying attention.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you guys for listening and watching, I should say. And then we're going to do this again. We're going to go over a few more things. And
maybe break down the 401, 403B and how to calculate it.
Yeah.
I think that's a doozy.
To help you live your abundant life. And it can be done. And if you're not just starting out, don't think you're behind. And, because
you have time to
catch up. You can catch up, and you can do what you can. You start now, start now. And on that note, I'll bid you adieu until next time, and I will notify everybody. And please like, comment, subscribe, and share this with others, who will benefit from it. And that way they'll be notified also when we do this again. All right, thank you.